Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. It may interest you to know. I'm Toni Marcolini, and I always love to have an author. Everybody knows that. That's reading is my jam. And I have another author with me today, only this time a little bit different, a children's book author. So I'd like to welcome Becky Bell to the podcast. Welcome, Becky.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
So I read your book. It's absolutely adorable. And I thought it was I thought it really conveyed an important message, right? Just to give a little bit of a blurb, it's called The Gnomes of Fibberton. Fibberton obviously is the play on the fact that it's really kind of a book about not lying. Uh, and it's just, it's cute and interesting. And I just thought, just a little bit of like the mysterious. It kind of had everything in it. I mean, I would liken it just to Aesop's fables, right? Because it's not just a traditional Disney kind of a read. I thought this, really kind of gave like a literary fiction kind of a read to a children's book, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it's been compared to like a Grimm's fairy tale also a bit. I feel like it's not quite as harsh as Grimm's fairy tales might have ended. Um, so the basic premise of the story is just um, every kid's born with a secret number of fibs they can tell before the gnomes of Fibberton come and carry them to live in Fibberton, where they have to do all the chores. Kids have lied and said they did, but never did. And they have to eat all the vegetables kids lied and said they ate, but didn't eat. Um, that's the basic premise of the book. And in the middle, there's the QR code that if you scan it, it plays a music video, and it's actually a little sing along cartoon in the middle of the book to help engage some kiddos.
Right. I mean, and the really the moral of the book is, honesty is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially for kids that are in today's day and age, like at a younger age, I think it's important to kind of engage the topic of honesty and integrity. Not that it hasn't always been important, but especially with the internet, social media, tablets, texting, all of these different avenues kids have to be dishonest and kind of can be encouraged to be dishonest by a lot of different
Mm.
people or apps, whatever they're using. So that's why I thought it was important to write this so that it can start them thinking about what is a lie? What am I being deceptive? Am I being sneaky? Am I do I
The
have a
white
secret?
lie.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a difference between um, different kinds of lies, right? So it just opens the discussion really in kind of this creative way, more than just, lecturing your child and saying it's bad to lie and don't lie and you need to tell me the truth.
I don't know if when I was a kid, it would have scared the heck out of me, though, right? That the gnomes were coming, right?
It's funny. I feel like as adults, we get a little more squeamish than we were when we were kids. You
That's
know,
probably true.
I'm more sensitive now to things because I'm as an adult like, well, I've experienced more things. I've experienced more reality. So I get more jaded and I'll be more nervous about something like even like a graphic scene in a show or something like that. I'm like, I don't like to see that. But I feel like kids are way more resilient than we give them credit for. Like I've told this story. This is why I finally wrote the story down. I came up with the idea like 10 years ago, and I was at Christmas and I had a niece who was lying. And my sister-in-law had told me, oh, she's been doing that a lot lately. And this idea just popped into my head, there are little gnomes and they're all over and they're listening to you. And if you lie too many times, they will carry you away to Fibberton and you have to do work, there's chores, and it's just like you have to eat vegetables and it's just miserable. And she her response was, I'll just kick them. Okay. So for, from a child's point of view, they're just like, they're not as squeamish about it, right? They're just, I'll just kick them. Um,
Sure,
but
like when I was a kid, I used to actually catch lightning bugs like in my hands. Or, you carry a frog around in your hand, and you didn't
right,
pick anything of it then.
right. I wouldn't do that. Yeah. As an adult,
No,
I would, ugh.
no, no,
Uh,
I'd run in the other direction. Yeah, there's no chance.
right. But I think it's, yeah, that's kind of why I wrote the book after I had, I came up with the idea like 10 years ago, maybe even 15. I don't know, telling my age a little bit. Um, And then I had my own kids. I started having kids 8 years ago. My oldest is 8, and then I have a 4 year old and I have a 1 year old. Um, but when I would tell the story to my 8 year old and his little friends, they would all like make up these games about the gnomes of Fibberton are coming, and they would say the funniest stuff to each other about it. Like my son, when he was talking to his sister, and he's like, is his 4 year old sister. And he said, if the gnomes of Fibberton are really listening, you really are my best friend. To his, he said that to his 4 year old. I was like, oh, that's so cute. He didn't know I heard that, and would probably be like, you told people that, mom? Um, but little things like I've heard kids say just the funniest stuff. And then on the flip side of that, I it was like a 9 and a 10 year old that were playing, and they were pretending that the gnomes of Fibberton were coming to get them. They were like, well, if the gnomes of Fibberton are coming, I'm going to tell you the truth. And it was a boy talking to his sister. He said, you really are ugly. And they're just because I don't want to lie because the gnomes are going to get me. um
Right.
I've heard them make up all kinds of, they have a lot of fun with it. I've never actually seen a kid really um get scared, or I've never had anyone tell me that it really like scared their kid. But I've gotten the response when they're surprised, for sure, when I get to the end of the story, that they could be carried to Fibberton. So I actually, when I read it in libraries, will say at the very end of the story that the gnomes of Fibberton aren't real, but it's always important to tell your parents the truth,
Yeah.
don't keep secrets from your parents. Make sure you're, being honest with them. And that's what I always say at the end of it. I don't think people should be telling their kids that it's necessarily that they're real, but if they want to, it's their prerogative. I don't tell them they're real personally. So,
I get it.
right.
So let's talk a little bit about the creative process for you. Um, what does that look like? I mean, how hard was it to write the book and to put something that was an idea that spontaneously, popped in your head, based upon your niece into some tangible format like that? What did the process look like for you?
Well, I would say it started by me writing it down. I had to write it all down. Uh, and then I tried to like cut out each of the lines. There are these really cool on Amazon blank books that you can buy. And I had actually bought some for my kids to like draw, and they could just make their own books. Um, and they're relatively inexpensive. But I used one of their books and I put the lines on each of the pages, and I just tried to sketch out a little something on each of the pages. I'm not an illustrator by any stretch of the imagination, but I tried to sketch it out, and then I actually went on Fiverr, the
Oh
website
yeah,
Fiverr,
yeah.
yeah, where you can like hire someone to do drawings for you, or you can hire people to do all kinds of things for you on Fiverr, right? So I went on Fiverr. I went through three different illustrators before I finally found one who I really liked, who kind of he drew a very bright story, right? Like his pictures are very bright. They're not very scary looking. The gnomes are like they're nice looking. And they're kind of original for gnomes. He's from India, so his take on gnomes are a little bit more like elves, I think. I've had people tell me
Yeah.
they look more like elves, not and which is it's his prog that's what his, culturally, I guess, more. how they envision what gnomes are. They don't have hats, they don't have beards or anything, but they have pointy ears and noses, and they're small. Um, so anyway, got him to draw the book out, and then sent it to the printers and had it edited and everything. And I feel like I think that's the creative process for me, really.
So you were, I mean, when you initially came up with the idea, all those years that you waited to do the book, I mean, were you creating other things? I mean, were you creating other books, or is this your first foray into the field?
This is my very first children's book, my first attempt at ever even printing one out and having it, in front of me as a work. But I did in that time come up with other ideas for like the whole series.
I could see it being a series. Like I envision it like in a hardcover book with with just a series of different adventures, like that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good leaping point. Um,
Yeah, I have
and
so I have like five ideas altogether. I've got the Gnomes of Fibberton, the original. Then I have Tunnel of Truth is going to be the sequel, which is the redemption story where the Tunnel of Truth is how the gnomes get out of Fibberton and can go back to their families. Where they have to be honest, they have to tell the truth, but it's really hard to tell the truth. So that's kind of what the book is about, where it's this adventure that it's really hard to accept the consequences of whatever you lied about. But if you do it, you go through the tunnel of truth, get to go back to your family and live a normal,
yeah.
life again.
I
And
mean,
then,
that's some great stuff right there. And I mean, the whole concept as you've laid it out. I'm always fascinated, with the writers, and how they come up with these ideas. I mean, are you somebody who gets your ideas from, um, like just observation from life, or do you need to outline, plot it out, or literally like you're in the supermarket and you're like, what's going to be really great if this.
I feel like that's kind of how they come to me. They just randomly,
Yeah.
the idea randomly
There are a lot
enters
of
my
people
mind.
like that, yeah,
Yeah.
who get random, and I've talked to other authors who say, like I've literally got to start with an outline. I've got to plot everything out. I'm going to write a chapter. I have to have the whole thing in front of me, in advance. It's amazing to me how different people create.
Yeah. I'm more of the idea pops into my head and then I kind of run with it. And with all of my books too, I want to do I'm doing this song in the book because that's
And
kind
who
of my
actually
theme I'm
sings the
doing.
songs?
Also, someone on Fiverr actually. I found someone on Fiverr to do the original Gnomes of Fibberton. I had envisioned in my mind. I don't know how. I'm not really musically inclined either. I don't know how it just this tune popped into my head. That's what gnomes of Fibberton do. Washing the dishes until they look new. That's what gnomes of Fibberton do. But it wasn't in like a female voice either. I envisioned it in like a deep crooner kind
Oh,
of voice. So I found an older gentleman. I think he's actually passed away now, unfortunately.
oh,
But he sang the original Gnomes of Fibberton song that is in when you scan the QR code. He sings
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and then I had someone else on Fiverr create the little cartoon to go with the song. Um, so I plan on doing that with each of the books, though. I want to keep that theme going where I have some kind of song with a QR code so they can scan it and it's engaging and it gets the kids, wanting to read because they get to watch a cartoon, even though it's only like a minute,
Still,
it goes along with the book too. So,
yeah. And kids love music too.
oh yeah, it's great for kids too that have like any kind of not any kind, but a lot of different learning disabilities or something. I've had different people that have children with autism tell me that this is just great because it gets them actually focused and wanting
Yeah.
to read the book. So
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an important thing that's different from adult writing to like adolescent writing, writing for kids, right? You need more ways to keep them engaged. Like an adult, we can sit down and read a book, and that's all it takes is the book, right? But with kids, sometimes you need more than the story of the book,
Yeah.
right? You need like that they're going to watch the cartoon or they're going to sing along and that's something where the kids get that tune in their head. They'll be singing that song for months at a time.
Oh yeah, my kids go around. Yeah, my kids go around singing "That's What Gnomes of Fibberton Do," and they sing it all the time. I have some friends that I just got the greatest compliment the other day. She was like, "My daughter wants to read this book every single night because she wants to hear the little video," and it's like, "Oh, that's awesome! I love hearing that people are enjoying it." And
Yeah, well, the feedback on the book has been monstrously good. The awards uh, and
we
just
did get
overall
a few.
reviews have been, really positive. I mean, I'm thinking that's a good feeling.
It is. It is a good feeling. It's really nice to I think I don't know, it's hard to pick a favorite review almost. I've had the most hilarious reviews too. I've got one of them was she's like, "Oh, we read this to my 5 and 6 year old girls or something," and the one of the girls just started confessing different different things she had been lying about. She just started confessing, making confessions, which I thought was hilarious. Another one was like, after they read this story, they were like, "Mommy must have." After she found out the gnomes do chores all the time, she's like, "Mommy must have lied a lot because she does chores all the time." It's just funny, kids'
That's great.
perspectives. Yeah,
That's great. Well, I mean, I think it's really creative and different. I'm all for, you know, I'm all for stories that have a greater theme, right? That have like something to learn from them. And I think he did a really nice job, like for kids to learn something, a little bit about honesty. And I just think it's so unusual. I was super impressed with the job he did on the book. I really I like the concept. It's the most unusual kids fiction I think I've seen in a while, uh,
yeah,
or heard about in a while. Uh, because it did have that Aesop fables feel to me. And I haven't seen that in a really long time.
yeah,
You know, most of the kids' books now, if you pick them up, or even the compilation books, the hardcover books of tales, they're pretty sweet stories overall. Very romanticized to a certain extent. Certainly, like a lot of the Disneys, it's about coupling up one of the Disney females. Uh, I don't know. I mean that to me years ago, you don't see many of that Aesop fable vibe anymore. So I thought that was
yeah.
really interesting. I mean, kudos to you. I think you stepped out of what is the normal, what has become the normal path for that age and said, hey, let's go back to when we were being a little more creative in what we were handing our kids.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. I noticed at one point with my own kids that I've heard a couple Aesop's fables that are retold in different cartoons, and
Yeah.
they're changed. They actually take the consequences out of the end. Like the grasshopper and the ant
Oh,
story.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw that retold in the at the end. The grasshopper played all summer, or yeah, all summer, and didn't collect any of the grain while the ants worked, and they collected the grain. And at the end of this cartoon, the ants just shared with the grasshoppers, and that's not what really happened
Yeah. That's
in the
like that. The
actual stuff.
Romeo, I always say Romeo and Juliet, right, is retold from Shakespeare. It's retold a million different ways with every generation. It's just retold with new people, the story. But that's like getting that, like you're retelling of Romeo and Juliet and they get married at the end, right?
Right.
Right. I mean, you really don't
And they
tinker.
live happily ever after.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of don't tinker with those kind of things. They're that way for a reason.
Right.
Uh,
I
but
feel like, yeah, I feel like consequences are kind of largely absent in modern kids literature. Like in the original Grimm's or Aesop's fables, they can be harsh, hard for children to grasp, but I wanted to be more in line with classic literature, but not as extreme, right? I needed relatable, harsh consequences for today's kids, like take away their dessert. All the toys are broken, only eat vegetables. They have chores all day. Concepts that are relatable to children, trying to present them in a humorous way, you know,
Yeah.
by having fun, like hidden gnomes spying on them. Also, the gnomes are like they're they're small characters. They're innocuous, like little creatures. They're not that scary to children. The thought of a small, you know,
Yeah.
it's part of my
Well,
thinking.
I liked it. Like I said, and everyone who listens to my podcast regularly knows literary fiction is my absolute jam. And I love it when somebody pairs it together, like mystery with literary fiction, or uh, but I thought like I was like, wow, this is adorable. This is like literary fiction for kids. All right, it's just a little more sophisticated. So I liked that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you'll have to follow along with the series as we keep them coming, right? With the Tunnel of Truth next. I mean, I have ideas for all of them. Then there's going to be the girl who told too many tall tales, right? So that story is about the girl that like says she can lift cars or was abducted by aliens, found buried
Yeah.
treasure. And then the boy who didn't do it, who it's like the oldest lie in the book. I didn't do it. Didn't do it. Didn't do it. Um, and then the fifth story that I want to do, I may actually make it next, and I'm kind of debating in the creative process if I want to make it before Tunnel of Truth because I just like the idea so much. It's a Christmas story, and it's Santa's other helpers because they deal with the naughty department. They don't get to make toys or wrap
That's
gifts,
really different and unique.
right? They get to do like they have to do all the not fun stuff. They deal with solely with the naughty department, and they're like they work with the my idea, the Fib Investigation Bureau. Instead of FBI, it's the FIB, the Fib Investigation Bureau. And then there's going to be like the 10 most wanted fibbers on the board and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
So since
Love
I
it.
like it so much,
Love
though,
it.
thank you. Since I like that idea so much and I feel so much passion for it, I may end up doing it next instead of the Tunnel of Truth because I'm feeling it, you know?
I love this. I'm going to
Oh,
say, Becky, you have to come back as you're continuing to write and talk to me as you journey along with your gang.
thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
So tell people where they can buy the book and where they can find out more about you.
Okay, so the Gnomes of Fibberton is on we're on Facebook, Instagram, um, TikTok if that exists. I think it does again. I don't know. Um, and then the book is on
The gnomes
Amazon,
came and carried it away.
right? Too many lies. I don't know. I don't know. We're on Amazon, we're on Walmart online, and also on my website, fibberton.com. You can get a copy there. And usually, if you order a book on fibberton.com, I autograph it.
Oh, cool.
So, since I
Now,
ship
what
those out,
about Amazon? Can people buy it on Amazon?
they can buy it on Amazon, but they have them in stock, so they're not autographed or anything.
Right, right, right.
But yeah, they're on Amazon Prime. So
Very cool. I highly recommend. Like I said, it's a little bit more sophisticated reading. It's a throwback to the to that Aesop fable vibe that we don't really see so much anymore. So I think she's bringing on like a resurgence to that,
yeah,
which I thought was kind of cool. That's why I wanted to talk to her about it. And I wish you the absolute best luck with this series. I
oh,
really could see this going someplace. I could see a whole, series. I 5 years from now, I see like one of those hardcover books that binds together all the stories, and
oh, how fun that would be. That would be awesome.
yeah, I could see it. So come back and talk to me again as you continue to write. And when I close the podcast, we'll put the links up, guys, so you can get to her easier. Just click the link. And thank you for being here. Thank you for
Awesome.
sharing this with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And we're going to close out from the podcast and say, have a great day, everyone.